My father was shocked to see me return, but he eventually accepted it quietly. I didn't say much either, I just stayed by his side and took care of him, helping him whenever he needed it. He would thank me softly, and those words brought me some peace. Sadly, my father's fight with his illness ended. The last chapter of his life closed quietly with me, Sophia, and our mother by his side. We couldn't know what he was thinking in his last moments, but we hoped his soul was at peace. Even though we expected it, losing him deeply affected us all. My mother, Sophia, and even my young nephew Randy were all very sad and cried. The only one who didn't show any emotion was my brother-in-law, Patrick. During the funeral preparations, he coldly asked, "Did he finally die, huh?" Hearing that, I was proud of myself for staying calm and not reacting angrily to Patrick. Instead, I focused on planning my father's funeral. This kept me busy and helped distract me from the pain. I ignored Patrick's harsh words and made sure everything for the funeral was done right. Patrick and I had never gotten along well, and our relationship only worsened over time. But despite everything, I kept my focus during this tough time. I first met Patrick when he was a skilled worker at my father's company, and I really respected his skills. It felt like I had gained a real brother when Patrick married my sister, Sophia. He was 5 years older than me and seemed like a role model. Before Patrick and Sophia got married, I often asked him for advice on various problems, and he always listened with understanding. One of our big discussions was about whether I should join the family business. Patrick would say, "You should live your own life, Frank. You have your own path. No one knows which choices in life are the best, so the most important thing is to make choices you won't regret later." Encouraged by his words, I switched from business school, where I was studying management, to the Faculty of Education, where I really wanted to study. As time went on, Patrick and Sophia got married and started their life together. 22 years have passed since then, and the distance between my father and me grew wider. I moved on with my life, missing the chance to close that gap. But when I heard about my father's illness, I dropped everything and rushed home. Patrick, who once greeted me warmly, had changed. He now seemed uncomfortable around me. When we were alone, Patrick would say coldly, "You came back in a hurry when you heard he was sick, didn't you? But no matter what, you won't inherit anything." His words caught me off guard, and I struggled to respond. "What do you mean?" I asked. "Don't act like you don't know. It might be a coincidence, but even if you now want to run the company, it's already decided who will be the next leader," Patrick said harshly. His words shocked me, and I replied louder than I intended, "No, that's not it. I didn't come back for the company." I realized I hadn't been a good son and wanted to apologize to Dad, even if it's late. Patrick dismissed me. "I don't need your fancy talk. It sounds like something from a TV drama. Sophia likes that kind of stuff, but were all those gifts you sent just a way to look good in front of him?" "That's absolutely not true," I tried to explain, but Patrick had already made up his mind and wasn't interested in believing me. His words also seemed like a slight against Sophia, and for the first time, I felt a deep divide between us. Ever since that incident, I started to feel really upset with Patrick. He began to mock me openly. "No matter how much you try to win him over, that time has passed. Don't make me laugh. Go back to where you belong and take care of your troubled students," he would say. At first, I thought deeply about how I appeared to others and how they saw me, but Patrick's words showed he was more concerned about himself than our father. His behavior often seemed disrespectful to both his father-in-law and his wife, Sophia. I started to believe that Patrick had married Sophia mainly to get closer to my father's company and wealth. He rarely visited my father when he was sick and didn't help take care of him. Now all I could do was work as hard as possible to protect the company my father had built. Patrick always sounded polished, but he really just wanted to avoid problems. On weekends, he would go play golf, claiming it was for business. He hardly ever took care of his own son. He said he wanted his son to learn many skills to eventually take over the business, but he left all the driving and housework to Sophia. When Sophia showed a bit of unhappiness about this, Patrick would passionately take her hand and say, "I'm giving my all for his sake. Now is the time to produce results by any means necessary. Let's overcome this trial together." Sophia found it hard to stand up to him and usually just nodded, even though she seemed reluctant. Patrick was good at acting like the perfect husband in front of Sophia, so it's no surprise she believed him. He shed his true self to me, probably because he thought I was like him. I eventually got used to Patrick's mocking, and it didn't bother me as much. However, when our beloved father passed away, I was heartbroken. I felt a deep sadness and emptiness. Although Patrick seemed upset about our father's worsening health, I couldn't shake the feeling that he had been waiting for this moment. This thought made me very sad and angry. After our father died, Patrick inherited most of our father's large fortune. Even though he was just a son-in-law, he had the same rights to the inheritance as Sophia and me. According to my father's will, he got most of the shares of the company and a lot of wealth. This unexpected turn of events left me speechless. Even though I was my father's biological child, I had thought the inheritance would be split fairly among the three of us. But instead, Patrick got almost everything. All I received was an old mini truck that my father once loved. In public, Patrick seemed surprised, but alone with me, he laughed and said, "You came all the way from the city to this small town, took care of Dad day and night, and all you get is this little truck, huh? What an ironic end. Now the company is mine, and you're left with just this mini truck as your inheritance. It's like a comedy." As he left the room with a smirk, I felt empty inside, holding the mini truck keys tightly. The cold metal made me face the harsh reality, but my family tried to cheer me up. "Keep your head up. Dad had his reasons. He didn't mean to upset you. That truck was something Dad always loved. It was his favorite vehicle. He surely cared about you." Despite their kind words, I was too hurt to respond. I knew that what you inherit doesn't measure a father's love, but the fact that Patrick, who seemed to be waiting for my father to die, got almost everything was deeply insulting. It wasn't about the money, it was the pain of seeing my father's hard work go to such a man. I felt powerless to change the situation. Clutching the truck key, I decided to take care of the mini truck, the only thing my father left me. It seemed to hold a deeper meaning. I hoped that cleaning the truck might help me sort out my feelings. I carefully washed